Hi, I'm Chef Gail Sokol and welcome to my kitchen. You know, the weather's getting a little colder and I'm sort of in the mood for coffee cake. I love coffee cake. People have brunches, people have get-togethers, holidays are coming. Coffee cake is great for everything. And we're gonna make a chocolate streusel coffee cake, and that is one of my favorite. It's sort of a riff on a chocolate babka, but no messy yeast dough. Very easy peasy. So we have a few things we have to make first. And before we get started, I want you to click that notification button because I want you to become a subscriber. I don't want you to miss any of my tips or videos. They're pretty good. And more importantly, I love having you in my kitchen with me. It really is a pleasure. Okay, so the first thing I've done, and this is the first thing you should always do before you bake, preheat your oven. 350 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? And I preheated that oven about 15 minutes ago. You wanna make sure, 15, 20 minutes ago, make sure your oven comes to temperature. And then I sprayed with nonstick cooking spray a 9 by 13 inch pan with 2-inch high sides. All right, and I'm gonna put that away and set that aside for later. That's where our batter is going to be. So this is a good size coffee cake. It's hefty. It can feed a crowd. Matter of fact, this one will feed a crowd. And before we do our creaming method of mixing, because this is what this particular coffee cake uses, and I will discuss it as I go. If you've never heard of the creaming method of mixing, it's very hard to say fast, the creaming method of mixing, but it's fun. And it's a really reliable and one of the major mixing methods in baking. So let's make our streusel first. So it sounds like a lot, but we have 2 layers. We're going to put some in the middle of the coffee cake and then on top of the coffee cake. That's how I like my coffee cake. I like lots of streusel and I love chocolate. So we'll get to that in a second, the chocolate part. So in a large bowl, I have 1.5 cups of dark brown sugar, and I packed it before I leveled it off. You pack it and you put it into your big bowl, and then I just took a whisk and sort of chopped it up a little bit, you know, so that it's sort of finer, and we can mix in our cinnamon. We're going to put a little cinnamon in there. So 1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, all right, and I have 2.5 cups of flour, all-purpose flour. So I'm going to put that in now. We're making this ahead of time because we want to be able to have it ready, at the ready, when we are ready to spread half our batter. Our batter goes pretty quickly. And I have already made the chocolate filling, which I will tell you about. It's just a simple ganache. I took 1 cup of heavy cream, put it into a saucepan, brought it to a boil, even a simmer would work, just under the boil, and took it off the heat and added 2 cups of high-quality semi-sweet chocolate chips. And whisked it until it looks like a beautiful, dark, flowing, liquidy river of chocolate. And then I took it off the heat and let it cool down a little bit because I don't want to melt our butter, which we are going to be using in our batter. We usually use softened butter in the creaming method of mixing. So see what I did? I whisked this up so the cinnamon is homogeneously blended. Now I'm going to take the whisk and put it away. And I have 2 sticks, you heard me, 2 sticks of unsalted butter melted. And I'm going to pour that in there. If you don't want to use butter and you want to use, you know, coconut oil, you want to use any other type of fat you want to use. It just has to be a liquid fat. So it could be canola oil, vegetable oil, whatever you want to use. And I'm going to mix this as much as I can. And then I'm going to get my best tool in there to actually make large, beautiful clumps. And those are my hands. So I'm actually going to try to get clumps of streusel. And you can see what that looks like. It's still a little dry. I want to get this in here. And you want to mix it just until everything's coated with that butter. And you can keep this in the fridge or keep it at room temperature, but I love when you get clumps of strudel on my coffee cake. I love it. I can't help it. I love it. I'm a sucker for that. If I see that, any type of coffee cake with streusel, it's like, I have to have it. I have to have it. All right, here we go, going in. And I'm just sort of, sort of not really kneading it. I'm just sort of sprinkling it and getting lumps, clumps, lumps, whatever you want to call them. They're delicious. They're delicious. And if you wanted to add nuts to this, you could, but it's pretty rich. But if you like nuts, add them. If you don't, I know some people don't like them. All right, so you see this? These clumps are perfect. Perfect clumps. Yes. All right, we're going to leave this on the side, and I am going to go to the sink just to quickly wash my hands. And then we're going to get the rest of our ingredients together. All right. I don't like to get my mixer completely covered in streusel, so that's why I am doing this now. All right, so in my electric mixer, I have 1.5 cups of granulated sugar, and I'm just going to leave that there for a second because the typical method, the creaming method that bakers use, one of the methods of baking, we always start with softened butter and some form of sugar, granulated brown sugar, sometimes a combination. So I'm going to get that ready in a second. I'm actually going to put the butter right in with the sugar and just get that. I could actually get that going now. Paddle attachment, all right, paddle attachment. And what I'm doing is, got to put my guard on or I will be wearing it, and you want to get your paddle attachment on, and you're just going to get this going on medium to medium high speed until that butter goes from yellow colored to almost white, because it will aerate. The sugar mashes the butter against the sides of the bowl, the granules of sugar, the granulation of it, and actually aerates it. It forces air into it, and those air cells that form in the butter are going to work with our baking powder and our baking soda. Yeah, see? There's a method to this, and it's very scientific. So it's actually going to cause carbon dioxide gas bubbles to form in the batter and rise in the oven. So there's our beautiful coffee cake batter. All right, so while we're waiting for that to get nice and creamed, as we call it, there's no cream in it, but it looks like it's been creamed. It's softened, almost like a frosting. I am going to whisk 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. These are my dry ingredients, all right? And I'm going to whisk them. You really want to whisk this well because you don't want baking powder or baking soda or salt to clump in your flour or someone's biting into your glorious coffee cake and says, ew, this tastes like soap. Because baking powder, if it's not dissolved, can do that. So we have 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder. We have 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And the baking soda needs an acid to react. Aha. So what acid am I going to use? I'm actually going to use yogurt. So you see, there's a lot of different ingredients. If you understand the role that they play, can actually make sense to you in how your batter is built or whatever you're making and baking is created. So you get the final product that you want. So I'm going to lower this a little bit. It looks like it's doing well. And I'm just going to whisk this. So these are our dry ingredients. All right. You usually have dry ingredients whisked together, and then you usually have wet ingredients whisked together. And you alternate them after you do the creaming. Sometimes eggs are added first. I'm going to add the eggs right into our yogurt. Make it easy for us, okay? So once that's blended, I'm going to put that over here. And then I'm going to do my liquid ingredients. And my liquid ingredients are comprised of 1 3/4 cups of whole Greek plain yogurt. It's got to be plain, no strawberry, no lemon, no funky flavors. And then we're going to add 2 large eggs. Again, these eggs could have been put one at a time into our creamed butter and sugar. I'm just going to add them all in together. 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Make sure it is pure because it'll smell different, it'll taste different. The imitation, for lack of a better word, it tastes like cough syrup. Don't buy it, okay? It's worth not using it. And then I have 2 tablespoons of just water, all right? If you wanted to add something else and put another flavor in there, like coffee, you could do some brewed cooled coffee. But this coffee cake needs nothing else. Delicious. And I'm just going to whisk this up. And again, I do not have to worry about how much I'm mixing this butter and sugar because I'm not going to overmix it. Sometimes bakers don't want to overmix things because when they overmix, they develop gluten. Gluten is a protein in flour, wheat flour specifically, like all-purpose, that can create toughness. But we want a little bit of structure, so we do want a little bit of gluten to form. All right, so we're all set there. All right. And this is what we're going to do. So let me just show you what this looks like. It looks, see how nice that looks? It's sort of fluffy. Fluffy, fluffy. So I'm just going to push that off of here. You don't have to do this, but I'm just showing you. And push it down off the sides. And then I am going to start adding dry and wet, alternating. So I'm going to put 1/3 of my dry ingredients in here, just 1/3, and it may get a little dry, what we're putting into the mixing bowl. That's okay, because again, the wet ingredients are coming. So just eyeball it, about 1/3. So 1/3 dry, 1/2 wet, 1/3 dry again, and then I scrape down the sides of the bowl as I need to. All right, and then that's about right. And then I'm going to try to get this in here without spilling it. So I'm going to do about 1/2. Be careful, Chef Gail, or you're going to see me mopping up my floor. All right, so that's about 1/2. Get that in there. And this is where you don't want to overmix, but it's always dry, wet, dry, always ending with dry. That's what bakers do. They always end with the dry ingredients. Because you don't want to form, like I said, that much gluten. You do want a little bit for, like I said, structure. So here it goes. You can see that some stuff is clinging to my paddle for dear life, and you're going back in. We need you as part of our batter. And then just scrape down the sides of the bowl. All right, very typical. And if you see anything climbing up on the sides of the bowl, scrape it down, get it back in. All right, and you really want to do this on low speed. Now we're going to do our second 1/3. All right, of our dry ingredients. Again, you can do this alternating any way you want, but it's always dry, followed by wet, dry, wet, and then ending with dry. All right, it's very simple once you get going with it. You'll just know, and you'll read a recipe and say, I know what this is. This is the creaming method of mixing. Like, huzzah! You'll know. All right, now everyone in here, and the liquid ingredients is going in, and everybody goes in here, and I'm just going to get everybody in there. You don't want to waste any bit of it. It's going to be a thick batter when we're done. That's okay. And just shove everybody in. All right. And then what do? End with dry. This is our dry. All right. I got a little overzealous, so I might have put a little bit more the second time around. No worries. Don't worry about it. It's fine. As long as you don't overmix, you're good. So get that last bit of flour in. There we go. Done and done. And our batter is done. All right. I'm going to give it I got a little flour up here. I want to get that in. I'm going to give it one whirl. And I think I'm just going to go around the edges because I do see a little flour. And you'll see a little bit of dry ingredients. Just do it one more time. Low speed. Done. All right, so now this is what we're going to do. Watch as I build our beautiful, beautiful coffee cake. All right, you see that? Isn't that gorgeous batter? That's gorgeous batter. Don't lick it. It's got raw egg. But I know some of you might. A lot of people like to do that. I never liked to do that when I was a kid. I never sort of got into licking the spoon with the raw batter. I don't know. It just doesn't seem good to me. I want to wait till it's cooked, till it's baked. I love that. I love it when it's warm. So we're just going to let that go. Get all in there. All right. And again, because it's a electric mixing bowl, there's always that little blip on the bottom, that little lift of the metal so it fits into the motor properly. So you just go around. And it's a lot of batter because this is a big coffee cake, folks. So we're going to move everyone over. I'm going to bring my pan, and we are going to put half the batter in the bottom of the pan that we have greased. Remember, you want to grease it. You don't really have to line it with parchment. If you want to, you could. Not necessary. So I'm going to just put about half in. And then I'm going to take an offset spatula. It's got a little kink in it. If you don't have one, you could use a butter knife. You could use just a regular spatula. And I'm just going to rotate it and move it around and evenly spread it. Evenly spread it right into the corners. Okay, right into the corners. I don't know if I exactly have half, so I'm going to add a little bit more. All right. Now, remember what I said about that chocolate filling. It's really ganache. I'm calling it chocolate filling, but ganache is very versatile. So we're going to add that in the center as well. But I like to do the streusel first because it's a nice buffer between the chocolate and the batter. All right, so I'm going to leave that. Now, oh boy, this hunk of streusel. Half a streusel. Oh, big clumps like Chef Gail likes it. All right, half. You don't have to push it in. Just sprinkle and enjoy the moment. It's actually like being at the ocean and playing with the sand, only I'm doing it with edible ingredients. I just love it. Don't crumble up the clumps. Leave clumps. Clumps are good. At least in streusel, I like clumps. I love clumps. All right, so we're just going to put about half in. All right, and then we're going to dollop the top of the streusel with some chocolate. Chocolate. I'm going to go get it. All right, look at this. So again, 1 cup of heavy cream. And what did I tell you? I took 1 cup of heavy cream, brought it to a boil into a saucepan, and then what I did was added 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips, whisk them until they melted, let it get cool so I can actually hold this pan super comfortably. It's barely warm. And now I'm just going to drizzle away. All right. Drizzle it all over because this is going to be the center. So when you open this up, you're going to get a surprise. You're going to get not only streusel, but you're going to get chocolate, rich chocolate, delicious filling. I love this. I love this. It's really just like a chocolate babka without all the work. It really is. I love it. Should have called it chocolate babka coffee cake. But, you know, it's a little confusing. So who wants to confuse anybody? I just want to eat this thing. Really, really good. And everyone should have a little bit of chocolate filling in their bite. So you don't want to leave anybody out. So I'm going to put that over here. Now we start our layers again. All right. So we're going to move this and put this down. And then I'm going to do the rest of this, but this time I'm going to sort of plop it on top because I don't want to ruin my layers. Okay, so I'm just going to sort of go like that. All right, and then I'll smooth it. Smooth it over. Oh, this batter's beautiful. You can, it feels fluffy and delicious and light and absolutely perfect creaming method, if I do say so myself. And this is going to bake about an hour because this is a big cake. This is a big cake. This is a big boy or a big lady, whatever you want to say. All right, so gently, gently, gently go around. All right, and just spread it as evenly as you can. If you get a little chocolate in there, don't worry. It's all going to be delicious in the end. Ha! Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right. So just smooth it evenly over. I love smoothing things with an offset, don't you? I mean, it just is very satisfying. It's very satisfying. I love it. So when you get to this point, all right, I'm just going to take the rest, put it into the corner. Put it into the corner. I have a little bit here. You see that? Don't waste this batter, folks. It's so good. Get that in the corner. And again, streusel, the rest of the streusel. All right, streusel. Oh my goodness, big streusel. Streusel. This is like dynamite streusel, unbelievable. And if you wanted to, you could actually bake this on its own and actually serve this over ice cream or cakes or whatever you wanted to do. But it's so good on this coffee cake. It's just amazing. And this coffee cake is so impressive looking. This actually is a recipe, a riff of this recipe is in my book, Baking with Success. So, all right. All right. Yes, we're going to keep going. Yeah, are you adding more? Everyone's going, Chef Gail, that's enough streusel. No, it's not. No, it's not. Come on. Come on. You know me by now, and if you don't know me, you're going to think I'm crazy, but just spread it out a little. Spread it out a little. Keep going. Keep going. Never stop, because it's going to bake. It's going to sink in a little bit. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. Okay, I'm going to finish up. Make sure you get it into the corners. Streusel that is not in the corners is not a good coffee cake for me. It's got to be in the corners because every bite has to have some streusel. I agree, right? Okay. There you go. There you go. That's how we like it. So just get that. Okay. And now chocolate, right? We need the rest of our chocolate. Here it is. And again, it's sort of a drizzle around, and that's going to be so beautiful. And if it's really high like this in your pan, you know, it really fills your pan. You can put it on a sheet pan if you would like to bake it on that. So any little bits of streusel, if they go in your oven, you won't have to worry about it. They'll just go on the pan, the sheet pan. But it's so pretty. So pretty. Get it in the corners. Get it in the corners down the edges. All right. And if you wanted to not use all the chocolate, but why wouldn't you? You could save this and put it on ice cream or freeze it. I always have ganache in my freezer at all times. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? You never know when you want an ice cream sundae or you want to frost a cake. Ganache is very, very versatile. All right. So this is going to go into the oven for 1 hour until a knife inserted into the center comes out clean. So 1 hour, 350 degrees Fahrenheit, till a knife comes out clean that's inserted very gently into the center. And it may not come out completely clean because of that chocolate. So be aware of that. Going in. See you back. So my chocolate streusel coffee cake came out of the oven and it's bakery worthy. It's gorgeous and it's huge. So I am going to tell you that you may need a few extra minutes in the oven because of such large size. So because of the streusel, and we have the ganache in between the batter, everything's got to cook through. I had to give it an extra 15 minutes. So I am going to amend, depending on how hot your oven is. My oven needed an extra 15 minutes. And when I normally make this, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So check after 60, after 1 hour check, it may need an additional 15 minutes. So 1 hour to 1 hour in 15 minutes, okay? So it's beautiful, it's still warm, but I can't wait. I have to cut a piece for you to show you. And before we cut a big slab of it, a big square, I like to adorn it with a little confectioner's sugar, and I'm going to put a little unsweetened cocoa powder in that. So I have a little mini sieve. I'm going to put a little confectioner's sugar and a little cocoa powder in here, and I'm going to mix it around, and then I'm just going to give it a blast, just a little bit, to give it a little bit of, you know, je ne sais quoi, a little something extra. And if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. If you want to do this, and it's coming out a little darker because of the cocoa powder, if you want to leave the cocoa powder off, you can. I like it. I think it sort of says what it is. It's chocolate. And it's beautiful, sweet. You could even put a little cinnamon in there if you wanted. All right. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to cut it. I'm going to cut it. So I got my little knife. Remember, it's warm, so I'm going to use a little knife, and I'm going sort of up and down, because I may get a little ganache streaks on that knife, but I'm not complaining, are you? I'm not worrying about that. And I'm just going to give it a cut. Remember, you're cutting through that beautiful streusel. So give yourself a break if anything, you know, is not perfect, but I have to show you. All right, are you ready? I'm digging down deep because it's really big. It's big. Let's see if it comes out. Ooh, let's see if it comes out. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at this. I'm going to put that, look. I'm going to put it in my mouth. Oh, my God. So good. Could you see yourself having this for breakfast? I could. Or anytime. You can see the streusel, you can see the ganache, you can see it on top, you can see it from all sides, all angles. This is like a geometry lesson, folks. I hope you make this chocolate streusel coffee cake. It's outrageous, it's warm. I also want to show you real quick inside. Can you see inside there? Beautiful layers. I love layers. So please become a subscriber and make this beautiful chocolate streusel coffee cake. I will see you next time.